Hello everybody, welcome to another Wonder of the Seas video. If you'd missed the last one, we talked in detail about the owner suite that we stayed in on our transatlantic cruise. It was Suite 1860, and you can watch that video up here, or here, I can never remember what side the thing pops up. But being a suite guest on Wonder of the Seas, being a suite guest on any cruise line is more than just the room itself, which is always pretty amazing in my experience. But you get a lot more with it. And so in this video, we're going to talk about what it's like to be a suite guest in the Suite Neighbourhood on Royal Caribbean's Wonder of the Seas. We've stayed in a couple of suites. You've stayed in more than I have on different lines, including Princess. There are a lot of benefits that are across the entire fleet. What are the benefits, Glenn, that you get as a Royal Caribbean suite guest, regardless of the ship that you're on? Just so we can set a benchmark.
I'm glad you asked that, Ant.
Oh, I'm so glad you're glad.
And for an exhaustive list, please just go and do your research.
This is the video that they're watching to do their research, by the way. And you've just told them
right.
to go and do their research.
All right, well, this is your pre-research then. Some of the benefits
Go to Cruise Critic. Thanks for watching.
If you go in a full suite on Royal Caribbean, particularly if you've never been in one before and you're sitting looking at prices and thinking, there's a big leap from the junior suite to the entry-level full suite. So is it really worth it? And I think the first time I went into a full suite, I did that research also. I had those thoughts, wow, this is a big uplift in money. What am I going to get for that? So in a nutshell, Royal Caribbean suite offering in a full suite includes extra space in your cabin. If you're the kind of person that spends a lot of time in your cabin, it may well be worth it purely for that. I don't know the sizes of the cabin layouts. Again, you can research that. But extra space on a cruise ship is always really, really welcome.
The rooms are getting smaller though. The suites are getting smaller.
I think we said that in the
last
cabin video
yeah,
that it was comparably smaller.
You'll find that the on the newer ships they're smaller than what they are in say Freedom Class, because on Freedom Class I think they're like twice the size an owner suite is.
Anyway,
anyway,
let's focus on this topic.
Okay.
So yes, concierge, this is a big plus to having a full suite. So the concierge, there may be one or a couple depending on the size of the ship, will be available to you. Typically you'll get an email about a week before you board, introducing them to you and offering their services. Now, if you have no idea what a concierge does, the way I look at it is this. Your cabin attendant does everything inside your cabin for you. Your concierge does everything outside your cabin for you. So typically, they would do things like arrange dinner reservations for you, arrange shows or activities, particularly if you're finding it difficult to book yourself. For example, on this cruise, we tried to book a couple of dining venues on the app, which is one of the ways in which you can do it. And the restaurants were showing as full up. We went to the concierge. He made a couple of phone calls, and 5 minutes later, we had reservations for the dates and times that we wanted. That's the kind of thing that a full suite concierge will give you. And I think it's a great benefit. Turning up to a show with only 5-10 minutes to go, what have you, and there is still a VIP area that you're able to sit in.
Yeah.
Any of you that have done, cruise entertainment before, you probably know you have to be there 20-30 minutes before to get a reasonable seat. This really does add a lot of value and kind of makes it a little bit more carefree, a little bit more relaxed having a concierge. The concierge typically sits within the suite or the concierge lounge, and that's another benefit of being in a full suite. So you'll have access to a unique area where you can relax in. They'll typically have like a finger buffet.
Get free drinks in the evening.
Free beverages.
If you're not on a drinks package.
Like a happy hour type of thing. So I think on our ship, what were the hours?
5 till 8.
5 till 8,
yeah.
So 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. every night in the concierge lounge, it's free drinks, alcoholic and non-alcoholic. Yeah. So again, that's a fantastic boon. So just have a check, just like I did when you look at the price of a junior suite compared to the entry-level full suite, which is, I think it's typically a grand suite, and then just compare how much you'd spend on drinks as well. Another benefit you'd get in a full suite is the Voom internet. You get the surf and what's it called?
Surf and stream.
Stream.
And on Wonder of the Seas, doing the actual crossing itself, I thought the internet was going to be absolutely garbage. I had mentally prepared myself for it not to work. And it worked really, really well. I was really surprised. You could stream Netflix with no problems whatsoever.
But when you look at the price of the internet, again, that differs for every sailing. But typically, looking at some of the previous ones that we've been on, the internet can be around $25 per person per day. So again, add that value into the overall price of the cruise and then compare it like for like. So if you're adding drinks and you're adding internet onto, say, a junior suite price, you may find that it's actually a lot closer to the price of the entry-level full suite. And that's when that decision can be made a lot easier in going into a full suite.
Right. Coastal Kitchen.
Coastal Kitchen. So that is the suite-only restaurant, which is not on every ship. I can't remember what ships it is. Quantum and
Quantum Class has
Oasis?
them. Quantum Class has them by the Windjammer for some odd reason. Oasis Class has Coastal Kitchen and the Suite Lounge together in like one massive space with a kind of a glass divider between the two.
So if you're on a ship that has Coastal Kitchen, again, do your research, have a check. It's
This
typically
is the
the newer
research.
ones. This is the research. we need to have some kind of disclaimer at the bottom that says, don't believe everything we say, double check it.
But it is the internet.
But if you're on a ship with a Coastal Kitchen, what that is a unique restaurant that's only available to suite guests, and I think some of the higher pinnacle guests as well, I think can use it sometimes. But it's open for breakfast, lunch and dinner. It's a very low-key, kind of upmarket feel. I have to say the one that with the Coastal Kitchen on Wonder was beautiful.
Yeah, very nice.
And that's a great option if you don't necessarily want the kind of the buzzy atmosphere of the main dining room, or you really don't want to hit the buffet. That's another option you can have, and it's totally included if you're in a full suite. So a great
And the food
perk.
is really good quality. The food is right up there with specialty dining, I would say.
So that's how I've always looked at the value of a full suite compared to a regular cabin or junior suite. And sometimes I go into a junior suite and sometimes I go into a full suite. Now that can be because perhaps I don't want to spend that much money on a full suite, or I don't see the value that it includes. But that's completely down to you. All I've done is explain some of the perks that you get in a full suite. But please,
because
you look at it up yourself and see if it's good value for you.
Because the thing is, if you look at because the junior suite, the J4 junior suite on Quantum Class is probably my favorite type of cabin on.
Is it?
It's amazing. Separate bathroom and toilet. On Ovation, they had just been. We went on Ovation 2019, and they had just been refitted, and they look beautiful. And we've got Ovation again booked in April, and Odyssey in September in 2023, and we're in J4s for both of those sailings. And for us, we found that by getting the key, which gave you the internet and things like that, it actually worked out quite good value. So you didn't need to get a grand suite and pay that premium, because at the time, the price of the grand suite was so much more that's how we found it to be better value for us. So but it all depends on everyone's budget, and what people think as value is really personal to each other. So, I personally feel that on this sailing, it was fine. I mean,
You're rambling now,
I
so
am
just
rambling.
stop.
So let's talk about what it was like to be a suite guest specifically on Wonder of the Seas. Because in Wonder, they have this new concept called the Suite Neighbourhood, which essentially is deck 17 and 18, where Grand Suites and Owner Suites, the Royal Loft Suites and all of the others are all clumped together in this one area with Coastal Kitchen and the new Suite Sun Deck. The only suites that are not in the neighbourhood, though, are the aft. What are they? The theatre, the
Aqua Theatre suites.
Yeah, the Aqua Theatre suites. They're obviously at the back of the ship. So, with the ship being as large as it is, you have to ask yourself, what do you want to be closer to? Are you the sort of person that wants to be near the boardwalk and be near the Aqua show every night, so you choose those? Or are you someone who wants to be closer to the sun deck? And so you could essentially not leave the Suite Neighbourhood if you're one of those people and eat in Coastal Kitchen. So let's start with the sun deck. What did you think of the sun deck?
This was probably one of my favourite parts of the entire ship, but it wasn't perfect. There were some things I really liked about it and some things I really didn't. Positives for me, the location. It's deck 18, it's aft facing, you've got fantastic views out to sea, beautiful jacuzzi kind of jetted tub. It's got like one of those areas where you have the sun loungers semi-immersed in water as well. Really, really beautiful. Great range of furniture to relax on. There are things like sofa beds, day beds with kind of curtains. There are.
I wasn't a fan of those though. I thought they weren't very deep, so you couldn't lie. I was always if you're taller, then your feet are always dangling off the edge.
Better for one person. But if you're not the type of person who likes to lounge around, and there are a ton of different style of lounges, then there was also sofas and armchairs that you could sit and read in as well. It was great. They've got their own bar in that area.
Yeah.
Again, fantastic barman. They could get you anything you want. I think we tried a different cocktail pretty much every day of the trip.
Try a BBC, which is the Kahlua, Bailey's, and something else. It was amazing. If you go on that ship, you've got to try that.
I just drank them. I don't
know, but yeah, you drank them. I went and got them.
So there was some really fantastic. The deck was half in shade and half in sun. So if you like to be out sunning yourself, there's space for that. We prefer, although we like to be outdoors in nice weather, we like to be in the shade, and there's plenty of shady
like burn
areas.
like that.
A couple of things I wasn't so keen on, however. One was the location I just mentioned was really good in the aft. It was, however, because you're aft facing and you're on deck 18, 2 decks below you is the sports deck. And on the right hand side, as you look out, you have the pickleball/basketball courts, and on the left you have mini golf. And what you find is the easy listening music, which is pumped out of the speakers in the suite sun deck, gets mixed with the.
It was like EDM. It was like Ibiza in the 90s.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of music that was. It was just noise to my elderly ears. But what you found was you was kind of on your lounger trying to relax, and literally you've got 2 lots of music hitting you at the same time. I know, first world problems, but it really kind of impacted the relaxation factor of that area. For me, definitely. A lot of the time, the soot particles, which are tiny little black powdered dots, cover the suite area. Now,
it wasn't that bad though.
Okay,
I think people had exaggerated how bad it was going to be. You could see.
I watched the guys on that deck cleaning it meticulously every single day. In fact, a couple of the days they were taking all the covers off the sun loungers and deep cleaning them. But that's required because this soot is everywhere.
The maintenance was. It felt like the Wonder of the Seas when we sailed on it. How old is the ship? 6 months? 9 months?
No, it's been sailing about 9 months.
9 months. And it had the whirlpool, which wasn't really a whirlpool. It was more like a rectangle pool with bubbles. Where the glass front met the seal, it was cracked. The seal had cracked, and you could see, if you looked closely, it was really rough around the edges. On our sailing, the actual pool itself was shut for 2 days because they had to repaint it. And I don't know how often they repaint the pools, but it seemed a bit soon, I would say, since the ship was very, very new.
Handrail around the perimeter of the suite sun deck area. It was a nice design feature in that they had LED light strips embedded in the underside of the handrail. So at night they lit up and it looked very nice. However, what we noticed was a lot of this LED lighting was hanging out from underneath as if somebody had kind of pulled it. So not only was it kind of like, a danger.
It was like the seal that they used to stick it inside the rail had come off.
But how could that happen with such a new ship? And how was it allowed to stay like that? I don't know whether there was staffing issues with maintenance. I'm not really sure. But again, it was one of those issues where you spend a lot of money to be in that area. And when you're sitting around and you're looking and finding things which aren't right. And you might argue, well, so what? There was some rope lighting hanging down. So what? There was some soot on some of the seating. So what? The music from the sports court is drifting up. Okay. In the grand scheme of things, these aren't deal breakers.
True.
But we were there for 2 weeks, and we were on that sun deck pretty much every single day. So these kind of things were very, very noticeable to us and kind of balanced out our pros for this area that I mentioned earlier. But, you know, I want you to hear our experience.
Yeah, I think though that moving forward with Icon class and the newer ships that are coming out, I think Utopia is coming out in a couple of years. You know, I think that Royal Caribbean have done a good thing with the Sun Deck. I think the fact that they've got it in the position that they have is actually really well
Absolutely,
done.
because on the other ship, or many of the other ships, the Sun Deck is nowhere near the rest of the suite area.
Yeah.
You have to walk half of the length of the ship to reach the suite Sun Deck. Here, it's all in the same area.
It's above the solarium, I think, on Oasis of the Seas, and it's like miles away from anything. Also, one other thing is it's immediately above Coastal Kitchen and the Suite Lounge. But there is no way to shortcut your way through from one to the other. So you have to go, if you're going from, say, the lounge to the Sun Deck, you have to go all the way down the corridor on deck 17, up a flight of stairs, through a set of glass doors, and all the way to the end of the other corridor to get onto the Sun Deck, where they could easily have put in like a shortcut staircase or a lift or something to enable suite guests to go from one to the other nice and quickly. And I do not know why they didn't do that. It seems like such a missed opportunity to make the Suite Neighbourhood feel more as one, because the neighbourhood itself has glass doors which you need your SeaPass card to get through, but you have to leave the neighbourhood essentially to get to the lift or the stairs, and then go up a deck and then go back into the neighbourhood. So
yeah, it's a bit weird in that they've made this big deal of the Suite Neighbourhood, putting it all together, and it is beautiful. There's such a difference in style and feel and ambience from the rest of the ship to those two decks. You can feel it when you leave from deck 16. You go through, I think it's El Loco Fresh. You go through the gaming arcade, and then into the rear elevator area. You have a staircase which goes up into deck 17. And as you're going up those stairs, you can feel the ambience changing. And it's absolutely beautiful. But then why, as Ant said, did they do the whole thing where if you want to move from the lounge to the Sun Deck, you have to go outside of the Suite Neighbourhood, upstairs, and then go back into it again? I really don't understand. There was plenty of space to have had some kind of elevator or spiral staircase or something to connect those two floors. I don't know why, missed opportunity. But overall, absolutely beautiful. And the idea of having it all together had to be done because, hey, Royal, you're being outdone by
NCL.
Celebrity with a Retreat or NCL with a Haven. So I'm glad to see that that's being done, but it feels like it's almost like a prototype, and there's still a lot of work they need to do on the future.
It felt like it was in as a neighbourhood, as a concept. It felt like it was in its infancy, because I mean we sailed on the NCL Epic 10 years ago actually, and we stayed in the Haven at the time, and it was amazing, and it was a very kind of enclosed area. They had their own sun deck. They had a lift that actually went to the Lido deck. Elevator for our American friends. Call it a lift. Is it the Lido deck? And you could go straight down to that. They had thought of everything, but at that point it was maturing, and I think that Royal Caribbean has a lot of learning to do with regards to the Suite Neighbourhood itself. But when you look at what they're doing on Icon, they're already evolving it, and I think that it's going to be interesting to see over the next sort of like 5 to 10 years how that continues to evolve, and if it becomes more appealing to people who are suite guests, because with prices going up, people are expecting a lot more these days for what they're going to get. Okay, so that was really the Suite Neighbourhood, to be honest. Big shout out to Marius and Christian, who were the bar staff on our sailing, because I absolutely love them both, and they kept me inebriated for a lot of the cruise. So thank you guys.
And the concierges were Jorge and Kenny, and did a great job as well. So thank you.
They were really, really good. They wouldn't take no for an answer from Hooked when we tried to get reservations. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. We got a lot more Wonder of the Seas feedback coming your way, so please make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the like button if you liked it. That's what you say, Glenn, like and subscribe.
And subscribe.
There we go, all that YouTube stuff, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye. Thank you.
You don't have to talk some